What's up guys, Houndish here, and today it's Thursday, so Bungie have the TWID, and that of course is Bungie's weekly update. So given that we're only a few days away from the launch of Act 3 for Episode 1, Bungie do have a few details about it, so that'll be the primary focus of the discussion today, but as always, we get updates regarding other items, ongoing bugs in the game, heads up related to Solstice, and a few other things which we'll round up in the video. So as always guys, I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, a rating down below really helps us out on the channel. But now it's time to get into it. And before we talk about the TWID stuff, Bungie initially points out that Solstice concludes in just 1 week, so be sure to finish those Armor Forge bounties before then, and of course that applies to anything related to Solstice. As we've previously discussed, there's actually less than a week until the event concludes. And the D2 team also added, on the subject of the event, a last-minute issue has been identified concerning Solstice armor ornaments, and unkindled options, which are the non-glow versions, are not available to unlock on Warlocks. Additionally, these selections don't currently have text strings, and they plan to fix this in a future update. So by the time that fix comes in, Solstice will have actually concluded for the year. There have been a couple of items actually, which have remained buggy for the duration of the event, but I guess it is what it is. Let us know down below if you've managed to get everything done that you wanted to complete for Solstice this year. Up next though, we get updates regarding Act 3 of Echoes, and firstly, one from DMG right here, and he says there won't be a live stream for Act 3. Of course we did see one for Act 2, and there was speculation as to what kind of reveals we might get, but DMG said, to be honest, a piece of this is driven by the fact that we don't want to spoil the exotic mission. We do have a small teaser that we'll see in the TWID, of course we'll be covering that, but otherwise they're going to stay reasonably quiet, although they say at the end of the TWAB, or the TWID, I'm doing it again. But they add that they will be back next week with a few additional details on Act 3 content. So perhaps that'll be on Monday or even on Tuesday after it actually goes live. So mention of the exotic mission right there, we do know that it's coming with Act 3. We're not certain as to precisely when it will drop. I kind of think it's going to drop in the first week to be honest, but that isn't confirmed just yet, so we'll simply have to wait and see. Next up, they do speak about artifact perks though, and they say it's time to shake up those well-crafted builds with some new perks coming with Act 3, and this row of new artifact perks focuses on auto rifles, which not only give another option for dealing with overload champions, but you can also have options for improving damage resistance and weapon damage. Plus in the final column, there's a perk to help us make arc builds even more destructive. So in column 1 there will be overload auto rifle, that's a pretty basic one. I should mention, we will keep all of the existing artifact mods that we had from the previous acts in the episode. Column 2 will have authorized mod charged up, and the energy cost of the charged up mod is significantly discounted. There's also sustained fire, and continuously damaging combatants with an auto rifle grants you damage resistance. So of course there is a connection to the exotic mission weapon that will unlock right there. Then column 4 has targeting auto loader, and while you have an auto rifle equipped, defeating combatants reloads your equipped weapon and temporarily increases weapon damage, and it awards bonus progress when dealing final blows while surrounded. Lastly though, we've got Shock and Awe, and when you have an Arc or Prismatic subclass equipped, Arc Final Blows while you're amplified summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. So that sounds like it'll be a pretty good one. And I like the sound of the auto rifle perks as well. I haven't been using a ton of auto rifles to be honest, so kind of looking forward to being able to do that a bit more with Act 3. And of course that will be dropping next Tuesday. Otherwise though, they talk about legendary weapons for Act 3, and they say Echo's bought several new weapons that have become a mainstay in many loadouts. But in Act 3 we have more weapons to add to the arsenal, the Speleologist and Chronophage rounding out the set of Vex Mythoclast inspired seasonal weapons, as well as the reprised and beloved Martyr's Retribution. And they show off some perks as well as images of the weapons right here. So with the Speleologist, the solar machine gun, we can see it's a rapid fire frame, and it's able to get combos like Stats for All and Incandescent, or Deconstruct and Killing Tally. So for the full perk list, or the traits at least, we've got in the third column, Heal Clip, Enlightened Action, Stats for All, Deconstruct, Firmly Planted, Slideways, and Envious Assassin. With the fourth column able to get Strategist, Adagio, One for All, Target Lock, Surrounded, Incandescent, and Killing Tally. So some good options there. There's also the Chronophage, which is an adaptive frame trace rifle. Now this has got void damage, and it's got potent combinations like Repulsor Brace and Destabilizing Rounds, alongside other strong perk choices. So the third column can get Strategist, Elemental Capacitor, Shoot to Loot, Pugilist, Autoloading Holster, Feeding Frenzy or Repulsor Brace. And then fourth column has One for All, High Ground, Fragile Focus, Target Lock, Demolitionist, Desperate Measures, or Destabilizing Rounds. On top of that, the perks for Martyr's Retribution appear to be pretty solid as well, of course returning from Season of Dawn, and third column can get Field Prep, Demolitionist, Threat Detector, Heal Clip, Auto-Learning Holster, and Envious Assassin, with the fourth column able to get Kill Clip, Strategist, Adrenaline Junkie, Desperate Measures, Incandescent, and Vorpal Weapon. So that's going to be a pretty juicy one as well. I feel like I might want to go after Envious Assassin and Incandescent on that. But let us know if they pique your interest. And of course, I'll keep you posted next week when we get to Act 3, as well as those additional details that we'll see from Bungie. Otherwise though, Bungie talk about exotic class item attunement. They have mentioned this in the past few days, but they say at this time, players can earn them by first completing the Dual Destiny mission, and then by completing subsequent Dual Destiny activities, or via overthrow chests in the Pale Heart. And while we're still noodling on additional sources, we're also working on attunement options to help slim down how many exotic perks are competing for placement on the drops. So they say there will be more information about this in the coming weeks. We've spoken about this image. We can see we're able to attune to one perk at a time, so it increases the chance for that specific perk, but we only have control over one column at a time. And they say as well this is an in-development build, so things may change between now and shipping. And they also point out the $ notations are simply for development purposes. Some players had speculated that that meant Bungie were going to charge us money for it. I mean, I guess it's not the most wild bit of speculation, but they clarify attunement won't cost you silver or bright dust. It's just a way for teams to know which text strings still need editorial passes. So that's the section on exotic attunement coming up in episode 2. Of course, additionally though, in the last week or so, Bungie have updated their restriction and ban policy, especially with regards to AFK macros. We've spoken about that already, there's been a lot of conversation about it in the player base, but linked below is the restriction and ban policy page, which does actually have all the information about how this will work and what to look out for, especially if you have a tendency to use some of those macro tools. It'll be worth paying attention to. Otherwise though, they add to known issues, and they say the not swap modifier functions inconsistently when players alter gear between rounds in PvP. On top of that, some ornaments are not available to unlock for Solstice armor sets. So those are newly recognized issues. The other component of the TWAB, which we won't go into in too much detail, but there is a big section with a sort of story catch-up for the Echoes episode up until now to get players ready, or to have a bit of a recap before the launch of Act 3. They also link some of the cinematics for Echoes there as well, so if you want to check those out, they are in the TWID. Otherwise, as Bungie say, we'll be getting more details about Act 3 next week, as well as the launch on Tuesday. So keep it locked and loaded here on the channel, guys. I'll keep you up to date as always. Certainly hoping we get into that exotic mission next week. I have a feeling that we will, so keep it locked and loaded here on the channel. Let us know your thoughts on Act 3 in terms of what has been revealed so far. Of course, they've revealed less about Act 3 than they did for Act 2, but I think the exotic mission is going to be the biggest bit of content for Act 3, and as I've said, they want to keep that quiet, so give us your thoughts. But if you found the video useful, a rating really does help us out. But otherwise, cheers for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.